Welcome to the lecture 9 of predictive analytics on regression and classification. In this lecture, we are going to talk about discriminant analysis, particularly the linear discriminant analysis and quadratic discriminant analysis. We will start with the motivating examples of R.A. Fisher's Irish flower example. In this example, Irish flower is a particular flower which has three subspecies. One is called versicolor, another is called setosa, and the third one is called virginica. Now just visually we can see that these three flowers are very different at the same time that belongs to the same family of species. But within a same family of species there are three subspecies. Problem is if I give you a flower, can you identify whether the flower is a versicolor, setosa or virginica? In the data set, they have measured two things. One, this part of the flower is called sepal and this part of the flower is called petal. So they have measured the sepal length and sepal width and the petal length and petal width. In this particular example, so there are four phenotypes that are available in the data set, but in this example, motivating example, I am trying to use only two phenotypes, sepal length and sepal width. The advantage of using two phenotypes is I can demonstrate how discriminant analysis works on two dimension, but at the same time you can extend this discriminant analysis same concept in 3, 4 or any higher dimension. Here is the scatter plot of the dataset at hand. On the x-axis we plot the sepal length and on the y-axis we plot the sepal width. The species of each flower is being marked by the color. Blue stands for the setosa, red stands for the versicolor and the green stands for the virginica. Suppose xk equal to 1, x1, x2, that is sepal length and sepal width, is a vector of features of the species setosa that we marked with the blue. Similarly, xk equal to 2 stands for the versicolor and xk equal to 3 stands for the virginica. So we can assume that xk, x1, x2 follows a joint probability distribution with PDF fk of x. Now, given a new test point x, x1, x2, we want to classify the new flower into one of the three species. Here is the data set that we have. Now, if I just take only these blue points, flowers which belongs to setosa, and compute the mean somewhere will be here and the covariance matrix, then we can model these points, these set of blue points which represent the species setosa through a simple bivariate Gaussian distribution. Similarly, if we take only the green points that represents the virginica in our training data set and compute the means which will be somewhere here and the covariance matrix, that will we can present by the a bivariate normal distribution. Here I have presented it with a bivariate normal distribution, and similarly we can take all the red points which represents the versicolor, and we can compute the mean and covariance of these all red points, and that represents the versicolor, the distribution of versicolor. So the distribution of the setosa, distribution of versicolor and distribution of the virginica, they are very different. Now the problem statement is I have a new data point which I marked with black. I give you the this new flower, the what is this, we know it is Irish flower, but we don't know what is in which subspecies it belongs. So I give you the sepal length and the sepal width. Can you now tell me which subspecies this particular flower belongs? That is the problem statement that we have in our hand. Suppose in order to solve this analysis, we have to so basically we want to discriminate between the three groups, and that is where the discriminant analysis comes from, the name discriminant analysis comes from. Here, one of the advantage of using discriminant analysis in the simple regular logistic regression, it is a binary classification model that we can handle. But in the standard discriminant analysis, we can handle multi-class classification problems. In this problem, we have three classes: Setosa, versicolor, virginica. Of course, we can do a multinomial logistic regression, but turns out a discriminant analysis is much more simpler than implementing a multinomial logistic regression. So suppose f sub k x is the class conditional density of x in class G equal to k. Pi k is the prior probability of class k with some sum of pi k to be 1. Then what you can do, you can apply the Bayes theorem straightforward way, and that will give you Bayes probability or the posterior conditional probability that given the value of x, the phenotypes in which species this it belongs to, the probability can be computed. In terms of ability to classify, having fks is the most equivalent having the quantity of probability of gk given x. So fkx and probability of g equal to k given x, some sort of a proportional information, but at the same time it is weighted by its prior probability. When we assume these distributions follow simple bivariate normal distribution for all three separate class, and then we can plug these distributions in here. Here we have taken equal prior probability, that is one third, one third, one third for each of the class. So pi k equal to one third for all three, and that gives us the final conditional this probability, Bayes probability, and this Bayes probability for this particular point, test point, is if it belongs to this point belongs to setosa is 0.861. This point belongs to versicolor, the red points, is 0.029, and it belongs to the virginica is 0.110. Most likely this point belongs to, even if from the data it does not belongs to in the main cluster of any of the three subspecies, our Bayes probability tells us that this particular test point most likely is going to belong to subspecies setosa. In the discriminant analysis, most of the effort goes into modeling the class conditional density f sub kx. Standard linear discriminant analysis and quadratic discriminant analysis use the Gaussian density. One can use finite mixture densities, one can use non-parametric density estimation, which are very complicated. In this course, we are not going to work on this somewhat complicated method of finite mixture models and non-parametric density estimation models. We are going to use straightforward Gaussian densities. In linear discriminant analysis, we model the class conditional density using multivariate Gaussian distribution. In the motivating example, it is a bivariate distribution, so p will be 2. Here p is the dimension of the distribution, or the number of features that you have in your problem, so it will be 2, but it could be anything technically. And this is the simple PDF of the multivariate Gaussian distribution. You can take it from any standard textbook. Now you can see in this multivariate Gaussian distribution there are two set of parameters. One is the mean parameter, another is the covariance parameter. If you assume this linear discriminant, this sigma k, the covariance parameter, is equal to sigma for all k, that means for all these three species have the exact same covariance matrix, which is a very strong assumption actually, then what you get is a linear discriminant analysis. So we want to compare if you want to compare the any of the two class, say K and L, let's look into the ratio of these two base probability of G equal to K given X and probability of G equal to L given X, and take log of that. So it looks like clearly log of odds of the probability that it belongs to some species vis-a-vis another species. So that will give me immediately log of one thing. What will happen that if you go back, this thing will cancel, because this is same for probability G equal to K as well as probability G equal to L. So if it cancels, then naturally what we left with is the numerator part, and that gives us the log of f sub k x by f of l x plus log of pi k by pi l. And if in f sub kx and f sub lx you plug this PDF, then with some, if you do some simplification, that will give you a form equation like this. If you look at carefully, this equation is linear in x. Why? Because I do know what is the prior probability of k and what is the prior probability of l, so I do know exactly what is the value of this. Mu k, mu l are the parameters, sigma is the parameter, mu k minus mu l is also parameter. So we can assume that these are the parameters. So this entire thing is effectively sort of behaves like a bias. Now if you look into this, the sigma inverse mu k minus mu l, this actually behaves like a coefficient vector, so x transpose of your coefficient. So the entire thing's a bias, this entire term is a bias plus x transpose omega, where omega is sigma inverse mu k minus mu l, the difference between mu k and mu l. That is why we in linear discriminant analysis, it's called linear discriminant analysis effectively, because my discriminant functions becomes a linear equation in x. In linear discriminant analysis, so main sigma k equal to sigma for all k cause a normalization factor to cancel, as well as the quadratic part of in the exponent. So and that is the main advantage here. So decision boundary between k and l turns out to be a linear. From the above linear discriminant function, if you do little bit of simplification, mathematical simplification, you can say that your final decision rule will be x transpose sigma inverse mu k log of half minus half mu k transpose sigma inverse mu k plus log of pi k again. So this is the thing, and then whoever is the maximum, the argmax of that will be the final choice that you will have. So exactly the same way, you just do it in terms of the equation. So in the linear discriminant analysis, the discriminant boundary will be some sort of a linear behavior. So we can say that anything that belongs to here will go to the setosa. Any new point you take, if that point belongs to this a region, we will call it setosa. Any points that belongs to this region, we will call it, say, versicolor, whereas any point belongs to this region, we will call it virginica. So this is how typical linear discriminant analysis goes. In practice, we do not know the parameters of the Gaussian distribution, so we have to estimate using our training data. We also don't know what is the prior probability or the to begin with. So what people do, they estimate the pi k as a class frequency fk by n, where fk is the number of class k observations. So simple, you can just look into the data, how many observations belongs to class k divided by the total number of observations that you have in your data set. That will be your pi k. Then mu k hat is basically the, you just take the cases which belongs to the kth class and take the average of them, and then covariance matrix is also same way effectively you can compute. You can show these are all maximum likelihood estimate. One of the interesting feature of this method is all these estimates are mathematically closed form solution, so we do have an analytical closed form solution. So in the linear discriminant analysis, we do not have to resort to any numerical optimization technique. Since we have a mathematically closed form solution, if you have a very large data, very big data, still it will give you the solution very fast, because all you have to do, you have to estimate the pi k, mu k and the covariance matrix, and then invert this covariance matrix, plug this thing in this formula, and you are done. So discriminant analysis, if you have a very large data, discriminant analysis or simple linear discriminant analysis or quadratic discriminant analysis will give you the solution very fast, because it does not need to resort to a numerical optimization technique like stochastic gradient descent or any numerical optimization technique, because you do have a mathematically closed form solution for your problem. This is a simplification of the two-class linear discriminant analysis. I'm not going to, you can, if you do the simple math, you can just come up with this solution. Again, it just shows you that everything available in a mathematically closed form solution. If you assume sigma k is not equal to sigma for at least 1k, the convenient cancellation will not work anymore. So you have to basically figure out the quadratic discriminant analysis case by case, but still you can figure out the delta kx. You can write it in this way. And decision boundary between each pair of cases k and l is described by the quadratic equations. So this picture, this figure I have taken from Introduction to Statistical Learning by James Witten and Hestian Tepshirani. This is the link from where you can look into the book, the original source from where I have taken. So left panel, this is the same data set where a linear discriminant analysis is being implemented and a quadratic discriminant analysis is being implemented, and clearly the boundaries are linear when you are applying the linear discriminant analysis, and when you are applying the quadratic discriminant analysis, the boundaries are tend to be quadratic or parabolic in nature, and that is why it's called quadratic discriminant analysis. Now I will try to share just my experience regarding LDA and QDA. I have often seen that QDA tend to do a little bit of overfitting. That means the performance of QDA sometimes do worse than LDA in the out of the sample testing. The reason is, now you do not assume sigma k equal to sigma, so naturally you, for each class conditional density, you are estimating the sigma separately for each class conditional density. So you are estimating too many parameters for the data set that you have. So if the data set is small or moderate or even slightly large data set, I have seen QDA tend to do little bit of overfitting because it has too many parameters compared to linear discriminant analysis. So you have to be a bit careful when you are applying QDA, but at the same time QDA is much more flexible model than the linear discriminant analysis or LDA. With this, I will stop here and we will continue in the next lecture very soon. Thank you very much.